Hello, everyone. I was fiddling, trying to get stuff together here. Lost track of time as usual. Time goes really fast. Uh-oh. Let's stop that. Hi, Anne. Hello, hello. Hello. Anybody else here? Got hello, Miss Vicky. Hello, hello. I'm hoping I have everything I need. I wanted to get a bucket of water to put stuff in. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Raven. Jennifer, I found something from you in my box, in my post box. I did. I did. And I want to talk about it on Tuesday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I was very surprised. Great. Do you like them? Hi, Debbie. So, hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. It's the Anything Goes Book Sunday. And, oh, I have got my notes in here. I've got everything in here. Or some of my notes. I have got a bunch of stuff I want to do today. Kind of tying in what we've been doing here lately. So, hello, hello. This is a live stream. I am talking to people in the chat. It will be a recording afterwards. So if you're watching the recording and you're wondering why I'm talking to people in the chat. They're asking questions and telling me to do stuff and things like that. So I do record them so that everybody can see them afterwards, because not everybody can be at the live stream. And I get that. I understand that. So I am thinking today for our Anything Goes book, we're going to do some experiments. And I gave people who wanted to do it homework about looking around them and doing an inventory of things that they have around them. Just everything that they've got around them. Tools and things that you use up. 2 different lists. Things that you use up would be things like acrylic paint and watercolors, tissue paper, I guess magazine pictures would be in there, book pages could be in there, things that you use and after you use it, you don't have it anymore, things that you want to use up. So I gave that as a homework. I've gotten some comments that it's an overwhelming task, and I'm sure it is for many people. When you get started on all the tools that you have and all the ink pads and, you know, different kinds of ink pads and different kinds of this and that and the other thing, the spray inks and all that stuff, it does get to be a little, hi Claudette, a little overwhelming. But it really does open up your eyes as to all the stuff that you've got. Hi, Betty. So, hi, Susan. You and your tadpoles. Hello, Yvonne. So, I did give that as homework, and Tuesday we're gonna be working with our lists of our stuff. And you don't need to have your list done, but I just kind of wanted you to have an idea of some of the stuff that you have. And Tuesday we're going to, hi Sarah, we're going to combine our list of tools and our list of materials, and we're going to see how many different ways we can combine those and use different things with different tools, and it'll be a lot of fun. And we're going to write notes and all that kind of stuff. And I thought I would do a little preamble to that and do a little bit beforehand. And we're going to do some acrylic paint experiments and stuff like that. Acrylic paint can be used in so many different ways. And hi, Linda. I thought it would be good to get a jump start on all the lists that we're going to be doing and just get acrylic paint out of the way. And I thought the Anything Goes book would be a really great place to do some of those experiments and some of those ideas or the techniques. So the only thing is acrylic, if you put acrylic paint down and you put your pages together, they stick together. So I do have some other pieces of paper so that I can lay everything flat. So I don't know how much I'm actually going to get done in the Anything Goes book, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try because I would like to get some more of these pages on their way. So I am going to start with the Anything Goes book, and I've got some pages marked to do some experiments. So that's all we're doing today. We're going to do the experiments. You saw the cards. And I'm going to go through the acrylic paint cards, and we're going to do some of these and some other ones that I came up with too, or remembered. Hello, Jamie and Shelly. Hello, hello. So it's not, we got a lot to do. Acrylic can be used a lot of different ways. I meant to get a doily. So I will grab a doily really, really fast. All right. So I use a lot of purple. I've been trying not to use purple, but I went through my paints and discovered that all I had was a little bit of metallic purple left, and I hardly had any purple. So I went to the purple store, and I only had one. So I went to the purple store and I got some different purples. I got the cheap stuff. Acrylics are not one of my favorite things to use because you have to clean everything up pretty quickly before it dries. And I don't always want to stop what I'm doing to clean something. So, hello, Danina. Hello, hello. So, before we waste too much time talking about what we're going to do, let's just do some stuff. And of course, the first one, let me get a page. We were going to do a wash. I wanted to demonstrate how to do a wash. So, get a chance to, hello, Luana. Hi, Tanya from New Zealand. It's always fun to see people from all over the world. So, I'm just going to do it on this page. I'm going to do acrylic paint, and over here acrylic paint with a little water. And we're going to do a wash over here. Just so we can see the different, how putting a little bit of water with the paint will make it translucent. And I guess we can put down here some leaves to go with these little ladybugs so we can see something before we put down the paint. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Lena. And well, the only reason I remembered before putting the paint down is because I want to show you how you can see through the paint as you do the washes, and how much paint or how much water you put in really determines how much you see through the paint. And I probably should have put down some book page. I guess it's not too late. So there's some leaves. Let me put a little bit of book page down here. Just a little bit. Little bit, not too much, just so we can see something under the paint. All right. All right, just put my stuff away. And I am not that clean, Shelly. The only reason I put stuff away as I'm using it is because I think our spaces are pretty close to the same size. If I don't start putting things away, I'm never going to find anything. This is my entire workspace. This is all I have. This is my entire everything, all of it. So I think we're kind of in the same boat. And when you're doing a wash, I just want to say you want to let your glue dry before you do your wash, because especially with a glue stick, it will come up if it's not totally dry. So these will come up. They'll come up, but I'm not too worried about it. All right, so let's do white. Let's do white. I've got all kinds of little toys over here to play with. Can't wait to show you all the little toys. Yes, we do need some wax paper. I did grab wax paper. Yes, yes, yes. I've got my wax paper bits. And that is actually the parchment paper that I used last time, so I will do that. Yes, thank you for reminding me. I think my paper is too big. It's too big. It's going to get in my way. I'm just going to cut a little bit of that off. Just a little bit. All right. There. Now I can get to my other papers. All right. So I am going to use a dry brush. A dry brush. Did I see somebody come in and I didn't say hello? I think I did. Artsy, art, Yeah, I'm having a day today. I was up late last night. Out having fun. So my brain is not working the bestest. All right, so I'm just going to use, this is a piece of plastic I get off of my National Geographic magazines. And we're going to use this for a few of our experiments today, so I thought I would just get it out. And actually what I'm going to do for full strength acrylic paint, I am just going to put it over here. And I want to see how much of that actually gets. White is kind of difficult because it's a light color. It doesn't cover everything. If I was to put black down there, it would probably cover everything. But I think I'm going to use white. But you can see it pretty much takes it all out of there. All right. It'll dry a little bit lighter. Okay, I need a little cup. So I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to put about the same amount of paint, and I am going to spray a little bit of water in there, not too much. Okay, and mix it around. And do the same thing over here with this paint. You can see this is a wash. It's not got very much water in it, but it's still a lot lighter. Than the other side. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. Just a little bit of paint and a whole lot more water this time. Can you see that? Mix it in. Am I missing people again? Neferkit? Hi, Neferkit. Yes, there is a video on how I make my homemade stamps, the leaf stamp. There is also a video on acrylic techniques. It's called Acrylic Paint Experiments. It's one of my early ones I did probably a year ago or more. But it's one of those that it really probably needs to be addressed again. So I'm just going to do, this is a real wash. And you can see my page is so thin that it's curling. But you can see just about everything underneath it. It just adds a little bit of, it just obscures it just a little tiny bit. And I think I would like to add just a little bit of color to that. That really made it pink. I kind of wanted red. Oh well. I really don't want this pink. I'll do it on something else. I've got some extra pieces of paper over here, so I'm just going to use up this paint over here. And so our first little experiment is acrylic with a paintbrush. We all know how to do that. Pretty easy. So that was number one, acrylic with a paintbrush. And I'm going to put that in some water. I'm going to set this aside to dry. We'll come back to that later. And I'm going to try to clean up my stuff as I use it today. Ha ha ha. All right. So there's my cup, all nice and clean and ready to go. So there's our experiment with a wash. That is number two, acrylic paint wash. You can see that is really, if it was a darker color, you'd not be able to see through that at all. The little bit of water, it's a little bit lighter, and then with more water, it is quite a bit more. You can see through. You can see through what's underneath quite well. So this is an acrylic paint wash. All right. So that is our first little experiment, number one and number two. Okay. Okay. Those are the easy ones. Those are the easy ones. And you know, they might be almost dry already. All that water in there. I'm just going to put one of these in here. So that's with a paintbrush and an acrylic wash. So that's two of them. I'm thinking, you know what? Let me just do it on this one while I'm here. Number three, finger paints. I'm just going to put a little dab of this red on my finger, and I am going to finger paint. Just around some areas. I can make it kind of, I can smear it around. Make it thinner. Finger painting can be fun. It's not one of my favorites. I don't like the mess, I think, is my problem. If I put that over that, you won't be able to see it at all. Try and get some of that off. Now that it's on there for good. Finger painting. Let's get it off my finger now. So finger painting's number three. And that's the reason I don't like it. Hi, Margaret. For Shelley's stamp. Which one is Shelley's stamp? Are you talking about the circle stamp? I did contact Hero Arts about the circle stamp, I do have to say. And I pleaded and I said, I have many people who would like to have one. Please bring it back. And all they had to say, can I call you Jackie? All Hero Arts had to say was, I really hate it when things are discontinued, but when they're discontinued, they're gone. They're not even going to consider, no, not even going to consider bringing back the stamp. Can you believe that? Can you believe it? Aristi, Aristi. So yeah, they were, it's like they just give me a quick email back saying, nope, sorry, it discontinued. Hate it when really treasured items go, you know, discontinued, and when they're gone, they're gone. That's all. That's all there was. So it doesn't look good, people. It does not look good. I don't know how big the company is, but does not look good. Okay, so that is number 3, finger painting. Got a funny little page going on here. Let's see. So then we are going to go to another page. Oh, this one looks like a good one. And we're going to use purple because I got purple. I got some different kinds of purple. And I am going to put, let me put some light purple down first. And we're just going to use a credit card or a piece of cardboard or anything. A piece of packaging would work. I'm going to put a little bit down on the page like that and scrape it around, and I'm going to put paper underneath it so I can go all the way to the edge. Yeah, I was a little disappointed that they weren't even going to consider bringing the stamp back, or yeah, a little disappointed. Hello, Vicky. Rita. I want to say Rita from Finland. So that is a credit card dropping the paint directly on the page. You can also, and I'll use a darker paint for this, you can also put it all my toys here somewhere. I use plastic lids, the big lids for things. You can put it on something and dip your credit card in it and scrape that way. Scrape in different ways. Like that. You can also, well, that's credit card. And you know, you've seen me do it a million times. I like the credit card. It is what link are you putting in there? Just like Carla says, it's Rita. I got something right. I got something right. Let me see if I can use up this paint. I put too much there. And again, I've got some pieces of paper over here that I will use my paint on just to use it so it doesn't go to waste. And let that dry because we will revisit that. And so that is, I think we're on number 4. I don't have these really listed as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I'm trying to remember everything as I go. So that is scraping acrylic paint with a credit card. And like I said, there is a video on most of these things. One of my earlier videos, acrylic paint experiments. And I did it really fast. It's like a 20-minute video or something like that. So if you want to see it that way. Here's one that I like, and I kind of want to do it the dark color. Maybe I should do it with a black. I should show you my little bin of toys over here. I want to play with all these things today with acrylic paint. So this is what I'm doing. I'm finding this stuff over here. All right. So I've got a comb and a fork. And what I'm going to do is add, I probably shouldn't use metallic. I should probably use something that's not metallic, because metallic sticks really well after the fact. And so does glitter. Why can't I find something? I guess I will just use a different purple. Just a different purple. All right. So I am going to drop some large bits of paint directly on the page, and I'm putting quite a bit of paint on. You can see it is a big glob. Those are big, big globs, okay? Big globs, big globs. I'm going to take my comb and run the comb through it. This puts a lot of texture on it. Depends on how thick you want your paint. I'm just going to do this one more time. I'm going to go that way and that way. Actually, it was 2 more times. And rub off the paint that's coming off on the comb. So you can see the little marks it makes. And this really does put a lot of texture on your page. But it takes a long time to dry. So I'm going to have to put the book away after this. All right, so also with the fork, just a fork. This is a plastic fork. And I am trying to get the paint kind of thinned out a little bit, and it's not thinning out. Going different ways, scraping into the paint. Kind of making a hash mark, I think. So it's kind of scraping into the paint there with that. Gives you a little bit different texture. Okay. So yeah, I like the comb too. The only thing I don't like about it is it takes forever to dry, because you really need to just let it dry by itself. I guess you could use a heat tool with it, but I just like to let it dry by itself. So I'm going to do this last little bit down here. You're playing along, Danina. That's wonderful to hear. I like to hear that you guys are playing along. I love hearing that. So I'm going to try to get this one a little thinner. I'm going different ways with it. That one might be just too thick, but that's going through with the comb. And it does dry that way. So it's kind of fun. So I'm going to let that dry. I might go through that one just a couple more times because it's so thick. And I'm wiping off my comb a little bit too so I'm not wasting that paint. So we've got paint all over the place here. All right, is that all I wanted to do with on this page? I think I could do some other ones. Let's see here. Since we've got it open and it's going to have to dry, put the credit card away. You can also use a palette knife, kind of like a credit card. And I'm just going to put a little bit, actually I'm going to put some on the plastic because we're going to do that pretty soon here. I'm going to put a little bit of that on this plastic, and you can get a little bit of the paint on your palette knife and scrape it where you want it. It's still a little random this way. But it gives you a little less space than you would find with a credit card. So you have a little bit more control about where exactly you want it once you have some practice. So palette knife, and I'm not going to try to remember all the numbers. We're just going to go down the list here, okay? Because I don't even remember what list I'm on at the moment. And here's another one while I'm thinking about leaving this page open. And I will use this black. I'm just going to put some in here. And I am going to add some water and a fan brush. It can be any soft brush. And the paint needs to have quite a bit of water to it. I don't like doing this one very much. I like the results, but it makes a big old mess. It's spattering. Spattering or dripping, well, those are two different ones, but spattering, I'm always afraid I'm going to get the camera. So I'm trying to be careful. And I'm hitting against my finger, and that this is regular acrylic paint for the comb effects. It's just the regular, the cheap stuff that I get at Walmart. That 50-cent apple barrel, cheap paint. So just about anything. Don't put any water in it because you don't want it to be too thin that it just spreads itself out. Just thick enough so it'll stay into a blob until you maneuver it the way you want it. So that is spattering. I'll show you the spattering. There's some big spatters right there. They're pretty thick there. So spattering on top. This is turning out to be kind of an interesting page. And then I'm going to add a little bit more water to that paint. Try to. And I'm going to let it drop if I can get enough. There we go. Uh-oh, too many drops. Not enough water, I think. There we go. Uh-oh. What I like about doing drops, you can either leave them as drops. I'm going to put that in the water. You can leave them as drops, and sometimes they'll spatter. They'll make a spatter mark. And sometimes you can do the dripping thing with them. If you get enough water in there, tilt your page and watch the paint move. Some of them are moving and some of them aren't. So if you move the page in different ways, the drips will go in different directions. And I'm doing this all on this page, and I've got, look at this, I've got mess everywhere. I don't, like I said, I don't usually do these like this because they just, the paint, when you're doing spatters, it will go everywhere, everywhere. And then you've got a great big mess to clean up, and you've got paint all over everything. Drives me crazy. Anyway, so that is quite a few little experiments on this one page. Okay. Hi, Linda. So I'm going to set this page aside so all these little textury things will dry just that way. If I can figure out a place to put it so that I don't step in it when I get up. And it's hot here today. It is hot, hot, hot here today. So I am going to set that aside. It did turn out kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. So I'm not going to be working in the Anything Goes book anymore, but these are still ideas to use in your Anything Goes book. I've got some pieces of paper over here that I'm going to do some more experiments with, and I've got a little bit of paint with water on over here. So I can't let anything go to waste. So I'm just going to rub it on here. All right. Go to my next thing. Next. I'm just using some junk mail for some of these. For painty papers. Another one is a baby wipe. If you use a nice juicy wet baby wipe to put on your paint, you are adding a little bit of water to it, so you'll be able to see stuff underneath it. If you use a drier baby wipe, not exactly dry, but drier, you won't see as much. So you get a nice thin layer of paint on with a baby wipe. Thanks, Vicki. Yes, if you are enjoying this kind of thing, if you want to see more videos with more little experiments and things to do with things, and we're going to be doing a whole bunch of this kind of thing. We're going to experiment with media. Please give it a thumbs up so I know you're looking for this kind of stuff. And if I don't get very many thumbs up, then I'll stop doing them. So, baby wipes are a great paint, acrylic paint tool. Baby wipes should be on your tools. Baby wipes are great for a lot of different things. All right. So, baby wipe, chopstick. This is a one that I have done a few times. I love chopsticks. I wash them off and use them over and over again. Sometimes I don't wash them off and the old paint is still on them. But you know, it is what it is. I'm back. Thank you. So I am going to open up. Let me not do purple on a pink. Let me do flamingo red. Flamenco red. Ooh. So this is dried paint on this chopstick, so it's not going to contaminate my paint. And so I'm just dipping some paint onto my chopstick and smooching it around. Smooching, smooching. You can get texture in there. You can clean it off. Kind of like that. Chopsticks. Chopsticks. I'll wipe that off there. Can't waste any paint. Gotta wipe it all off. Chopstick. Okay? Easy one. Chopsticks. And you can do just a little bit of paint with a chopstick. And do a little bit of pink. Just a little bit. And you can kind of draw with it. Roll it around. So you don't have to use a big amount. You can use just a little amount just to add a little bit of color. All right. Chopstick. All right, so now we're going to get into things to do with a brayer. I'm going to put this aside so it'll dry up just a little bit. Put those aside too. I'm going to use just a regular piece of copy paper. Nothing fancy. Nothing fancy. And for a brayer, I'm going to use my piece of plastic over here. I just got a new brayer, a little small one. So I'm getting ready to play with that for the first time. And this is an old one I've had for a long time. And it needs to be cleaned because this paint is dried on there. Like I said, acrylic paint, man, I'm horrible with it because you need to dry it pretty fast. And if I'm in the middle of having doing a stream, you know, it's going to be an hour before I get things cleaned up. And so things dry before I get a chance to do anything with it. Anyway, so the first thing that I would do, I'm going to use purple again. I would drop some ink, some paint directly on the paper and take my brayer and just bray it around. When it gets pretty thin, you get this dendritic kind of thing going on, which is kind of cool. Get it kind of thin over there. It's too thick right there. So I really like that. I really like that a lot. Okay. Another way to do brayering, let me use a light purple, is put it on some kind of a palette. And I do like using these pieces of plastic for this. And coat your brayer like that. And then put it on your paper. It gives a different kind of effect when you do it that way. It's not so blotchy. It's just a little, and it depends on how much paint you put on, how it looks. Okay. I'm going to get another piece of paper out here. And I'm going to take this wet paint that I've got here and use that to put the paint on the paper. Like I said, I can't waste anything. So this is all my leftovers from the piece of plastic that's still wet that I can get. Oh, that's all of it that I can get on the paper. So you can kind of make designs and stuff on your little palette over here. We'll just draw in it a little bit. Maybe put some dark purple, darkish purple. Brayer that out just a little bit. And maybe, what do I want? What do I want? Maybe a little bit of this. And I'm going to use my register tape rule thingies. And before this paint dries on my plastic, I'm going to put that on my paper. And you get something really random. Bye, Yvonne. Really, really random. You never know what you're going to get. And then you've got paint that you can use up as well. Not very much, but some. I'm going to clean that off for now because we're coming back to this. All the different things that you can use to make marks with acrylic paint. Well, we've done this one now, so we don't have to come back and do that one. Where's that paint that I did use? I'm going to put a little bit of that on there. Kind of munch it out a little bit. And use it to make some marks while we're here, while it's all dirty. I might as well just use it. I really like the way that looks. It's like this interesting little flower. These are, if you work at a retail spot and you work at the register and you change the register tape, take a look at the spool that the paper, the receipt paper comes on. Sometimes you can get some really cool, interesting patterns. This is one. I used a rubber band and put 7 of them together to have this little pattern. Of course, it's not showing up. There we go. So you can see I put 7 of them together, and that's what it does. All right, and I love finding things like that to play around with. Just love those kinds of things, finding those kinds of things. So that's what that one is. I'm going to clean that one off and put that to the side since I already showed that one. Let's see how the paper is kind of turning out to be kind of cool. There we go. It is kind of, we're getting some patterns going on over here, which is really nice. All right. Where do I put the stuff that I've already used? All right. I think we need to go to a different paper. What else did I want to do with the brayer? With the brayer, you can also put paint. I got paint all over my hands here. Kind of finger paint the brayer just a little bit. So that there's some paint on part of your brayer. And that will make it a little design as well. Alrighty, I think that's all for the brayer. I've got stuff on my hands. Can't let that go to waste. Is that all for the brayer? I might have to come back to the brayer. I think there's something else I wanted to do with the brayer and I've forgotten what it is. The new brayer is now used. It's been broken in. Okay, so I'm going to let these dry for a second so we can put, you can find other things though. Take a look around when you're looking at stuff. Another one that's really cool is thread spools. I just got this one because it had circles on it and I wanted the circles. It's just a spool of thread, and this one also has paper on it so you can't see it. I'm trying to use this spool up. I don't think I've got one that doesn't have the paper, so this was also, it's just a spool of thread. This, is that a creature? Corks, definitely, corks. Yep, it would work with corks. It would work with carved corks. If you put a design in your cork, it would work with that as well. It looks like a bunny to me. A bunny with a great big huge pregnant belly. So think about, you know, kinds of spools or something kind of like that. You'll never know where you're going to find them, and I'm sure they're all over the place to be found. in various places. See if I can clean up some of my mess here. So since I've got it out, I might as well put some triangles on this paper with this little gizmo. I've only have one cork carved out. It's really difficult. I don't know if there's a trick to it, and I don't know the trick, but it took me a long time to get this triangle cut out, and it was not the safest. It was really, really difficult, so I don't know if I will show how I do that. Just saying. I'm liking the triangles though. Layering up this paper with different stuff. I'm trying to use up this little bit of paint I've got over here. Oh yes, corks with a rubber band. Sure, sure you could do that. Sure. Definitely. And I need a wet baby wipe to clean this off so I can use it again. Another thing, another thing to use would be a pencil eraser that you don't like, that you're not going to use, and dip that into paint and use that for polka dots. This paint is almost dry. So I'll just put the polka dots in one little area over here. Definitely can use just about anything in that kind of way. Okay, so I'm liking the triangles there. Hi Jessie. Hi Pam. Anybody else? I've been painting away, and if I didn't see you come in, say hello so I can see ya. Thanks everyone for stopping by. Uh-oh, we've already been here an hour. And I don't think we're halfway done yet. I guess I better get a move on here. Let's see here. We did that one. Foam brushes. I love foam brushes. I'm going to put these on the other side over here to dry, and I'm going to come back to them and put more layers on them. I've got the foam brush. Love the foam brushes, and this is the reason I like foam brushes. What color should I use? We'll use a red. I'm going to put the red here. And I am just going to put paint on the tip of this foam brush. I'm going to make sure I've got the whole tip, and then I twirl it to make the circles. Try to keep it in one area. Okay. Now why isn't it not making full circles? Do I not have enough paint? Let's try this again. I love making acrylic paint foam circles like that. Okay, so I'm going to do that kind of quickly all over this paper. There's so many different ways to put acrylic paint onto paper. That's all I'm trying to say here. So what we will be doing, I need more paint, on Tuesday is exploring some different ways to use some of the stuff that we have. Kind of like this. There's at least 20 different ways to add acrylic paint. Just like that. And now I'm going to put that in my brush, in my water, so I can clean it up later. But I love that. Usually I can do a little bit better circles. But it is what it is. All right. So that is the foam brush, circles, and also just a regular sponge. And I will put down some purple for this one. I think I want to spray that just a little bit and use a brush to mix in some of that water. And I'm just going to brush some on. And I'm just brushing it on the surface of the sponge. And the reason I'm doing that, let me see if I can get some up there so you can see. And you can use a natural sponge for this. This will give a natural sponge will give you larger holes and more abstract kind of looking thing. But it does this fun little spattery thingy. Bye, Linda. Which I think is kind of cool. And a natural sponge will give you bigger holes and more abstract kind of, more texture. So you can use that as well. I also have I thought I had another dauber. I lost my stuff already. No, there it is. I've got some different daubers. This is just a sponge, and this is more of a, I don't know what that is. It's plastic, but it's a really weird texture. So I need to clean this off. I just lost all my cards. All right, so I need to clean that sponge off, so I'm going to put it on the paper here. Until I can get it clean. If you leave acrylic paint in a sponge, the sponge will go bad. It'll get hard. It'll get hard. And then it's useless, and you can't use it after it's gotten hard. There's just no way to fix that. Let's see, I need to go through these cards. I dropped them on the floor, so now let's see what I've done. The foam circles, I'm done. All right. All right, so sponge, where was I? Daubers, and it's the same kind of thing, except it gives you, let me use, what color? Maybe this peach color. Same kind of thing. Gives you some texture. Probably use that with metallics. It works really well with metallics. Hi, Mary. Same kind of thing. I am trying to clean up my stuff as I go here. It's not working real well. Not working real well at all. And then, I don't know where to put it because it needs to be cleaned. The daubers is another thing that you can do and make circles. Circles. So you can kind of see what's going on there. All right. Oh, I'm making a horrible mess. Horrible, horrible mess. I wish I'd remembered to have a little bucket of water to throw all this stuff in. So, let's see here. We could also do, oh, here's a little kid's toy. It's a kid's spatula. It's one of those things that let me get this piece out here. And let's get some black. It's another kind of the scraper bit. Just to scrape some color on. It's just a cool little bit. Now it's all dirty. Now that I've got some black paint out here, I've got Legos. Let me see if I can get a little bit more paint. Brayer it out just a tad. Maybe brayer some onto my Legos. That works pretty well to make little squares or little circles in square shapes. And I've waited for a long time to get these little bits of Legos to play with like this. are expensive. How do I keep pages from curling? I don't. They curl. They're so thin that they just curl no matter what I do. I usually let the paint dry and then I will close the book, and I can put a weight on top of them, on top of the book, and that kind of flattens it out eventually. And especially, yeah, I've been looking for Legos forever. I could never find them at the thrift store, and they were just too expensive because it was always the big sets, and I didn't want the big sets. I wanted just a couple little pieces. So I finally found just a couple little bits, a little baggie. This is the little baggie I found for $5.50, which wasn't too bad. So I've got some different shapes that I can use. Anyway, but I like the way it looks, right? It's kind of an interesting little pattern. I really like the way that looks. Okay, so I am going to go back to this one, I think, and use a little bit of black. And here is another circle type thing. This is the center of a Scotch tape. Can you see it? It's got a double circle to it. So I'm just going to come on. There we go. So I'm just going to dab it into the paint and make sure there's enough paint on it. Okay, so it doesn't want to make a double circle. Why doesn't it want to make a double circle? Do I not have enough paint? I should probably be using my Delusions paint. Okay, why isn't it getting paint in the center? It's starting to. But it's not doing it very well. I'm just going to use this Delusions paint for just a second. Because I know that it would work. It worked before. How come it's not working today? That inner ring must be just a little bit smaller and it's just not working. Usually it works. My other one worked. This one works. I don't know why this one's not working. I have a great big huge mess going on here. This one works. I know because I used it. There we go. And if I get enough paint on here quick enough, thick enough, before it starts drying, And I have it all over my hands. We can put another piece of paper on top of that. I've got paint all over my fingers. And either rub it or use a brayer. And make a kind of a print. So you can see where it was splotchy in some of the areas. It's come off here. Foam pads, is that, well, it doesn't seem like that ring. I think the inner ring for it, it's got paint on it, but it's not transferring to the paper. I guess a foam pad would actually get it to work, huh? I have got paint everywhere. Here, let me get some of the paint off of my fingers before I go too much further. But anyway, it's interesting, kind of, with all the splotchiness. And I don't want to touch drawers and try to get a foam pad out at the moment because I'm going to get paint everywhere. So a foam pad would probably work for something like that so that it would make contact with the paper easier. I hadn't thought about it ahead of time, but bye, Jamie. This is horrible. This is horrible. I'm going to dunk it in this water here and get another baby wipe and try to clean up my fingers just a little bit. That's just, see, and this is why I don't use acrylic paint very much, because it's just, I make a huge mess with it. I mean, I like the way I like the results, so I do use it, but I like watercolors better. I'm looking forward to doing the watercolor demonstrations. I can do a lot of stuff with watercolors. Yes, yes, Vicki. I am doing some of these painty papers. I am trying to get painty paper packs put together, but I would like to get a bunch of the papers made up ahead of time. And so that's what I am kind of doing at the moment, yes. So yes, some of these painty papers will be for sale soon. So I've got a bit. I probably have enough if I got some packs together, and I might do this next week. So I have a collage pack that I almost got figured out, another one. So I'll do that this next week. Another thing I wanted to do for today was to do the challenge number 1 in the Anything Goes book, but this acrylic paint is taking too long. Bye, Raven. It's taking me too long to clean up in between. So, and that's why I'm putting lots of things on each page to layer them up and make them interesting. All right. What else have we got to play with here? Where are my cards? Oh, okay. I wanted to do something with this string. Now, we didn't get to stenciling yet either. You like the collage pets, Susan? Yeah, I have a lot of requests for painty paper packs. My problem is it takes me so long to make them. It really takes me a while. All right, so let's see here. am going to see how much of this paint will come up. Quite a bit. And I like paint on text. So a lot of this will be in there too. As I don't know what it is about text and paint on top of it that I just really like the looks of. And my brayer is very dirty. Let's see if we can get some of that paint off before we do the string. String is fun to do, but again, very messy. So I am going to should I put red down? Christmas red. Put the Christmas red down. I'm going to brayer it out just a little bit. I'm going to cut a length of string, kind of long. Because I want to be able to hang on to the end without getting my fingers all dirty. And I am going to put the string in here and brayer it with color. Trying to get the color on the string. Okay. And then I'm going to lay the string like that. Put another piece of paper on the top. Hold it down with a book. Like that. And pull the end of the string out. All the way out. So there's my string. And then, oh, see what ends up happening? It's so cool. I love the string. It's so random. I love the way it looks. So let me do another color. And you can put it into the paint as well. It gets more paint on it, but it tends to glob up a lot when you do it that way. Let's see, what other color? This weird ripe tomato, I think. I'm going to put it right on top. More orange than red. Tomatoes are orange. Make sure I've got paint all over the string. And then lay it down again in a different place than the other one. Put my paper down and my book down to hold it there. And make sure you've got your end of your string out. Susan, really? And then pull the string in different ways. So I'm going to put it over this way and pull it out this side to get more different things on the paper, like that. See, I don't know what it is about that, but I like it. Linda, I think A lot of these techniques, and I'm just throwing the string away. It's a mess now, and I'm done with that. A lot of the techniques are listed in Art Experiments, and they are in the documents. There's a whole list of, and I don't remember how many are there, but a lot of what we're going to be going through here in the next week or so, they're all listed there. I will try to put a new one up. The problem is I cannot make documents on Facebook. My browser, my computer, something, it won't let me make documents. So I can't just open up a document and type in a list of something and make a document. My computer won't do it. And I don't know how to fix that so that I can do it. Or I would. So what I've had to do is make a document with my Word thing on my computer and then upload it as a document into Facebook. But it is there. It is there. Oh, the packs. The reason I don't have a list of everything is because it's always changing. I don't have the large collage packs anymore, or the small mini kits that I had. I don't have those, and I don't think I'm going to redo those like I did it before. So those are gone. So I don't want a whole list somewhere that's going to be changing quite often. The packs that I've come up with are going to be limited. I'm only going to have, I think there's only 7 that I'm going to have. And when they're gone, they're gone. I will be listing them on my Facebook, my personal Facebook page, when I get them going. But like I said, they're ever changing, ever changing. The only ones I've got going right now that will probably be up for a while are the book page packs and the napkin packs. I have those. Okay. And I will have things for sale up on my blog. I'm still working on trying to get my blog all situated and up and running, but I'll be having lists on the blog as well. Okay. But like I said, the lists are always going to be changing, so I'm kind of hesitant to put lists somewhere. If someone finds a list that's old, I'm afraid they're going to be disappointed if they can't still get the same stuff. So I've got paint on this brayer. And that's the only reason I haven't done it so far. So I will figure it out. I think I'm gonna get it up on my blog. All right. But let me get the blog all situated before I do all that, because they're not there yet. And I'm just going to take what's on this piece of plastic and put that there so I can use up all that paint. The large collage kits ended up being too hard to, there was too much work involved in trying to get all the things for the large collage kit. So I'm trying to figure out how to do something like that, but not like that. So yes, so I'm going to try to clean up some of this stuff, and I'm looking around at my toys, at my tools. We have not done stenciling yet. Stenciling with acrylic. Do we have time? We do have some time. Stenciling with acrylic. All right. I think that is good enough. And we can do some stenciling on top of that. I think that'll be kind of cool. Maybe some stenciling on this one too. All right, so some stenciling. I forgot to grab the stencil that I love the most. Well, let me grab it for this technique. I just love this stencil. Uh-oh. For that. But I bet this would be kind of cool too. I should use that one instead. I'll keep both of them out. Both of them stay out. And put these away. Another thing to do is acrylic paint. If you brush on acrylic paint, see if I can get one of these kind of dry. And we'll use one of those reds. Brush on acrylic paint onto your any stamp, a rubber stamp or a handmade stamp or any of that kind of stuff. If you brush it on in a thin coat, you can stamp with them. Which are kind of cool. So you can stamp with acrylic, but you do need to clean off your stamps. If that acrylic paint dries on your stamps, no matter what kind of stamps it is, they will not work the same ever again. Ever, 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 ever. So, just so you know, you need to clean off your stamps. And I've got some paint on here that I don't want to waste. Before I put it in the water. All right, so stamping, and I am taking a wet baby wipe and wiping my stamp off so I can use it again in the future. Make sure all that paint is off of there. Once it gets hard, the stamp is pretty much done for. So that's all I do to clean off my stamp. Oh, you have problems with stenciling with acrylic paint? There's a couple things that I like to do. Acrylic paint stenciling. One is and I'll use this brush again since probably shouldn't put it in the water. One is using a soft brush with, well, let me back up. Let's do a makeup sponge first. I've got this makeup sponge, and I will do this stencil with the makeup sponge. Actually, I want one that's a wedge because it's easier to hold on to. Here's one. This one I think I used in paint, but it's a wedge, so I can hang on to the end here. And the trick is, and I'm not the best at this, the trick is not to use, make sure you don't have a ton of paint on your sponge. I kind of like this pattern, and I'm afraid to put anything on top of it. So let me use this one. All right. So I'm going to dab the sponge into the paint. That's way too much paint for stenciling. So I'm going to a different area to tap off some of that paint. So there's hardly any paint on that sponge. But there's going to be enough if you use an up and down pouncing motion. There's going to be enough to get quite a bit of color on your stencil. There's that little tiny bit of paint. It turns out really nice. It is almost like dry brushing. You don't want a whole lot of paint on your sponge. And it's the same thing with, that's probably not enough. If you get too much paint, it starts coming underneath the stencil and it's not as crisp and clear. But I do like stenciling with acrylic paint because it goes over what you have there before and you can still see the patterns. Okay? So I like that a lot. And I'm going to put that, am I going to use that again? I'm not sure. So the other thing, trying to find a stenciling brush, and I usually use my stenciling brushes for my ink pad. So this is one that I haven't used. A stenciling brush is flat on the top. Yeah, it's flat on the top so that you can do the same kind of thing. Just put, okay, I need more paint. What paint did I use? That wasn't the same paint, but it's the same thing. You just want to get the tips of the brush, but you don't want a ton of paint. I think that's too much. There. So you just want the tips of the paintbrush to have paint on them. And then you just do it up and down. You don't brush it because that will brush paint underneath your stencil. I like the sponge a little bit better because it gives a better coat of paint. But it works. Okay? You see that? Of course it won't focus. There we go. Alright, so I like the sponge a little bit better. Like a pouncer, yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to put that in the water. And this is wet, or this is wet paint. So I do clean off my stencils on my under paper signatures. Let me find, here's one. And I just use a baby wipe and wipe off my stencil, and whatever paint is on the top there will come off on the paper underneath. And I do both sides just to make sure my stencil is fairly clean. I know some people don't clean off their stencils. I like to have my stencils kind of clean. And then I've got the leftover paint on my signatures, and I'll show you those at another time. But those are what I use. And I should have them out here so that I can use them here, but I don't. So Where is my gold metallic? I don't seem to have any gold metallics. I need gold metallics. So one thing that I really like to do with stenciling is I like using a soft brush. And this works well with, and I've never used this one, and so this is going to be an experiment. I like to use a soft brush with a brush stroke, lots of paint, and I am brushing the paint underneath the stencil. Let me see if I can get some paint on there so you can see before I move it. I am brushing paint underneath that stencil, and let's see if it worked. You can see the pattern. This stencil doesn't work real well. I'll have to redo it. But you can kind of see the pattern there. I really like using this stencil. It's a really fine little bit. Let me clean that up just a little bit. I like this one because it's so fine that it really catches the paint. See if I can, let me see if I can get it to do it. Okay. So I put quite a bit of paint on there. And when I lift it up, you see the pattern of the stencil. I have pushed all that paint underneath the stencil, and the plastic has kept a lot of paint in right there where the plastic was. So if I let that dry, the texture stays just like that. I absolutely love this technique. Love it. I usually let it dry by itself. I don't use a heat tool on it. And here it is with just a little less paint, but it's still pushed enough paint underneath the stencil that you can see. And I find that if the finer, the thinner that the stencil is, the better the pattern is. So let me put some of that over here. Like I said, these are going to be painted papers that will probably end up in a for sale pack. So let me use up all my paint. And let them dry. Let them dry. These are cool little fish bit papers too. So yeah, that will dry just like that. Hi, Sherry. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the water for a second. Take an inventory. Kind of wipe off that gold a little bit. I'm going to put this somewhere where it will dry, and we'll look at it on Tuesday, and I'll show you how well that pattern stayed on Tuesday. Okay? You haven't got them yet, Luana? They're on the way. Well, I guess it is Sunday. You probably didn't get them today, huh? They are on the way. Where are the cards? What else do we want to do with stenciling? Did, oh, yes, the baby wipe with stencils. Yes, yes, yes. All right, let's do that. Let's do that. And there's a couple of ways to do this. I don't know which one to use. You know what? I might just do a different paper. Let's do a baby wipe with that stencil. And, oh, I didn't do the sprays, which is with stencils too. I'm going to use this metallic because there's some in here, but there's not a lot in here. And I wanted to show, of course, I don't have my spray bottle. I'm going to put some, this metallic purple on my baby wipe. Kind of smudge it around so it's not too thick. Try to get a hold of it. And baby wipe. Of course, you're adding a little bit of water, so it's not going to be as thick. And I still have some red on that, but that turns out pretty cool too. Like that. If you do it a little thicker. Okay, something's going on with my paint. I got globs in my paint. Kind of pounce it. I do, I've got globs of paint. Globs of paint. Not good. Try to lift the stencil up and not smear it like I just did, but you can do it a little bit thicker too. It is end of the bottle globs, and I kind of wanted to use some more of it because something that I like to do with the ends of acrylic paints I don't know if I want to make that much of it. I put water in there and I make a spray. And I showed this on my, oops, I need another bottle. I showed this in the experiments that I did before. I get spray bottles from Walmart. They're just spray bottles in the makeup section. I don't know what they use them for, but that's what I use. And I don't want to use a lot of, I don't want to make a lot of this. So I'm just going to make a little tiny bit. Let's see if I can do it in this bottle. Yes. All right. So I'm just going to pour a little tiny bit of paint in this bottle. Okay. A little bit of paint. Like I said, I usually do this with the end of the bottle. And I'm taking some water and I am pouring it in there. About the same amount of water that I put, let's see if I can get this. This is a shampoo bottle that I'm repurposing. and it doesn't seem to want to. There we go. I'm going to shake it all up, make it really watery. Put the mister thing back on my thing before I spill that all over the place. Make it really watery. You can't see because it's all in the bottle. It's all covered in the bottle, but it's pretty watery. You see? No, can't see it. Pretty watery. Pretty watery. Can't see it with the glare. There we go. Can you see inside the bottle? Not really, because it's pretty coated, but it's pretty watery. It is almost like water. I mean, it is very, very runny. So I'm going to take this mister thingamajigger and put it in there and use this as a spray. Over the stencil. It's better if you use the whole bottle. I just broke my thingy. I broke the lid. Get that off of there. It's better if you use the bottle. Let me use the bottle. I didn't want to use the bottle, but I might as well. Now I can get it screwed on there and it will work perfectly. Anyway, all right, so I am going to use this bottle. I've got it pretty, you can see it's pretty watery. You see it moving in there? See how watery that is? And then just use it as a spray. And so of course, I haven't got it in the, there's not enough in there. Really didn't want a ton of it. I didn't want a ton. As you need to clean out your sprayer when you're doing this because the sprayer will get clogged up. You can't leave it in there for very long. Oops, and that's way too much water. So a little bit more paint. And we got another glob. Mix it up. And I can't get the sprayer to have water underneath it. Why isn't this thing working? It worked before. I did it with a teal metallic and I just loved it. It's just not picking up. There's just not enough in the bottle. But anyway, it is very watery. It's about half and half. Hi Orla. But this does work. Even though it's not working for me right at the moment, it really does. It really does work. You can see it there. It does work, and it's really a nice way to make your own kind of sprays with the metallics. I love it with the metallics, but it really works nicely. You can see it kind of right there. Yeah, definitely, because the metallic, I don't know, with the mica or whatever it is in there that makes it that way, it will get clogged in the little nozzle right where it sprays. It'll clog that all up. It'll get dry and it just won't work anymore. And it is a pain to try to clean those out. It's almost not worth the effort. So you do want to, after you're done spraying, you want to put it in some water, the end in some water, and just keep spraying it until the water comes out clear and you know that it's all out of there. So you can use the sprayer again and again and again. I don't understand. This sprayer might be broken because it does not seem to want to be, it doesn't seem to want to work. I'm thinking it's the sprayer. Let me try a different sprayer. Warm water, yeah. Here's another new one. Let's see if this sprayer works. Yeah, that works much better. So you can see it's a nice light coat and it's acrylic, so it will go over other things. All right. Bye, Laura. So yep, I do like that, and I will need to clean both of those out. That's clean. When I'm done here, immediately after I am done here, and I've got this glob of purple paint that I don't want to go to waste, so I'm just going to blob it on here. See, yep, it's got to be the end of the bottle X. The end of the bottle X. Okay. Spread that out thin so I can put other stuff on top of it. And we can do some more stenciling on top of this one since we've got some time. And you guys know you can also use Q-tips. Shelly does this all the time. She uses Q-tips to paint with. I'll do a little bit of purple. We'll do some Shelly circles. Except I'm not going to use a bunch of different colors. Shelly circles. Huh? Circles. Just like that, just using a Q-tip or anything else. I mean, you can paint with all kinds of different things. It doesn't have to be a paintbrush. And then you can use other things for stencils as well. You know, I've got the paint or the kitchen sink strainer and the makeup sponge. Which is pretty cool too. It's got a little red on it because I didn't clean it off. So it's a little bit different. You don't have to use stencils. You can use found things to stencil through. I do need to clean that off. Drywall tape. Cat hand I saw Cat Hand using this stuff, and I had to get some immediately. Found it at the hardware store. Drywall tape. You can use punchinella. I think I've got a piece of punchinella somewhere around here. So that makes some great circles, stencils as well. So there you go with those kinds of different. Just use what you have. It doesn't necessarily need to be a store-bought something. Here is mesh from the tangerines, clementine something. It's just the mesh that they kept the fruit into the box with. It makes great patterns as well. Stenciling through stuff. It doesn't have to be a stencil. And you can make paper stencils as well. I got too much paint on that one. So you can see, this is what happens when you use too much paint. It's not as clear. It's not as precise as it should be. The drywall tape, it wasn't too expensive. I think I got a great big huge roll, and I believe it was, I'm taking quite a bit off this, and I will be including bits of this in some of my collage packs, because I can never use all of this, so I'd be sharing it. I could actually put it in with fish bits. That would be a great fish bits. I need to put some of that in. I believe that this roll was $6 or $7, so quite a bit of stuff there for your money. That one turned out a little bit better with a little less paint. There's lots of ways to stencil. And there is, if you brush, let's see if we can use one of these brushes. Brush some paint on. Let's use a dark color. Brush the paint on. And use a wet baby wipe with a stencil before it dries. I'm supposed to leave it for a little bit, but you'll get the gist. You'll get the gist. Because my time is up. So let me just do this real fast. You're wiping away some of that paint. If you leave it for just a second longer, no, punchinella is, so I had all this kind of stuff. Punchinella is the sequined waste. It's this. This is punchinella. And I'll use the baby wipe and rub some of that color back off with it. So that is punchinella. You can use homemade stencils. This is a paper stencil, just like a snowflake. A snowflake. And use that. I'm going to use a light color. And put it over the top. It's all about the layering, putting stuff on top of stuff. It makes it look really cool. Just a snowflake kind of shape. You could do this with anything. You could also brayer on your flip-flop and flip-flop marks. Just anything. All the toys that you have. And this is why I'm suggesting to make lists of what you have. Tools that you have to use, because we forget what we've got. Here is a pot holder. And I need more paint. This is a pot holder. Let me use a different color. Let me use some of that. This is a pot holder or a trivet. Oh, that was way too much paint. Way too much. And it makes a great stamp too. So this is why we're doing inventory of some of the stuff we've got. And I will go through my inventory with you on Tuesday. So, because there's probably things that you have that you don't realize. And I meant to get bubble wrap out, and I didn't get any bubble wrap out. Because bubble wrap is a tool that I use quite a bit. So the layering, get things on top of things on top of things, and it ends up being really, really cool. My flip-flops are only, I'd never wear my flip-flops. These flip-flops and my other flip-flops, they are paint and ink flip-flops only. That's what they were. That's what I got them for. So I mean, that's turning out to be quite an interesting little piece of paper there, just by putting things on top of things, right? I've got all this peach paint to use up now. Another thing to do when you're brayering a pattern like this, if you notice, the brayer is the pattern as well. Let's see if we can see it on here. Nope, it didn't work real well. Usually it will brayer out the pattern as well. Let's see if we can do it again. Nope, it's not working. It's not working. Usually you can put the pattern on a brayer and it will give you a pattern. So I'm trying to use up my paint here. So I understand my time is up and I need to go. And I think I've covered almost everything. There's a couple that I didn't get to cover. I wish I'd had a whole list and not just part of a list. Because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, but anyway, a lot of texture on that. A lot of texture. So, I've got all this paint to use. I'm going to let that dry because I really like the textures on that. A lot of white, but I still really like that. And I might add some more later, but I just like the way that is turning out. This seems like it needs a little something. So we'll put some of this paint on there since I brayered out way too much. So my time is up. I do understand. So I don't expect you to stay while I waste the rest of this paint. So I appreciate you all being here, and we are going to go through these techniques and more techniques for other stuff in the next few weeks. Bye, Luana. Sorry. Hi, Mary. I have to use that up. I have to use that paint up. Let me get my flip-flop all cleaned off so that there's not acrylic paint in there, and it will continue to make that wonderful design. And see, acrylic paint for me is just way messy. It's way messy, and I really need to clean up the rest of my stuff too before it dries on there. Before it all dries. See, I like the way that looks. Feels like it needs a little bit something more, but it feels like it needs some more layers. Let me put away some of these other toys, stencils and toys that I've got all over the place here. Oh, this one needs a little bit of something. Should we flip-flop it? Let's flip-flop it now that I cleaned off the flip-flop. Make the flip-flop go in different ways. Over the top. I have a major mess to clean up here. I'm getting paint everywhere. I think I'm going to give up. I do like the way that is turning out. You see it? So that acrylic paint is going over the black, so that that black is kind of going into the background now. Susan, don't say things like that. I actually got these from Walmart a couple weeks ago. They were on sale for $1. I've got paint everywhere. I could not resist the zigzag flip-flops. Couldn't resist them. So all right, so that's all nice and clean. I'm going to clean off this brayer. Is there anything else that needs a little bit of paint? I'm going to waste all that paint. That's horrible. It shot out too much paint, so I need to start cleaning up all my toys here before they get unusable. I don't want to have to buy new toys. So we will visit all these kinds of things again on Tuesday. Like I said, we're going to work with our list of things that we've got, our tools and our materials, and we're going to start putting them together so we can figure out how to use our flip-flops with as many different kinds of inks and stamp pads and acrylics, and we're going to start mixing stuff up together, and then we're going to make little tags, little prompts for ourselves with all the stuff that we each have to remind ourselves to use some of our tools and some of our supplies that we never use. So that's what the whole thing is all about. No need to stress over getting your homeworks done. No need. This is it's an ongoing, kind of a long-term project. It does not need to be done all at once, really, really fast. It's one of those. It's on a binder ring, so you can add or subtract tags as you need to. So it's not a big problem. If you have a list of things that you've got, a basic list, there's absolutely no reason you can't add other things when you come across them. So I think we did just about everything. Of course, I'm going to stop, and then there's going to be 5 techniques that I didn't show. You know, that's the way it works for me. So I'm going to say goodbye for today. We've got some interesting papers. I think this one needs a little bit of something more. Maybe some stenciling. Maybe some stenciling on that one. We've got some cool, I really like this, and I don't know why. I really do like that. Maybe I should brayer some more of this pink paint around the edges so that it gets used. And that one needs a wash on it. Some kind of, maybe we'll put watercolor over the top of this after it dries. We can do that on Tuesday. And you'll visit these papers again, because there's a couple of them here. There's a couple of papers that need some more stuff. So we'll come back and do more stuff on these papers. This one definitely needs some more stuff on it. Maybe some stamping. So thanks everyone for spending some time with me. Let me just add this paint as since it's sitting here. can't waste anything. I was going to, but I can't. I can't. I just can't. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're watching the recording, thanks so much for watching. If you like more techniques for the different things that you have, give me a thumbs up so I know that you want some more stuff like this. And now I think it needs purple and red. I think it does. I think so. I think so. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for playing. And hope I see some more work in your Anything Goes books. Some more play, some more interesting things, because I like seeing what you guys are doing. I like the purple flip-flop pattern. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So, bye. Thanks for watching. All right, see, I love this paper. I love this paper. Bye.